So everyone, thanks so much for joining. My name is Anita. I'm a co-founder of LiveFlow. We automate manual financial reporting and bring it to the spreadsheet format. So here you can see LiveFlow's financial reporting without any manual work. We're a Y Combinator backed company. We started the company in January 2021. Since then, been rolling. We've seen incredible success with companies like airCFO and others that you can see on the slide, where essentially we help financial firms to automate the reporting for their startups. The software that we're building is fully cloud-based and can scale across many QuickBooks files. I'm here to answer any questions about the product. And now it's over to Alex. Alex, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Great, thank you. And thank you for organizing this webinar. Excited to be here. A little bit of background on airCFO. We are a best-in-class advisor for exclusively venture-backed high-growth startups. We currently have just over 60 employees spread across the country and across the globe, over 200 clients, and you can see a sampling of some of the great clients that we're lucky to work with along the bottom of the screen. And overall, we've helped our 200 plus clients raise over $2 billion in their lifetimes, which is a pretty cool statistic about the impact that having a best-in-class fractional CFO and accounting firm can have in helping to scale a startup and helping startups to navigate the ups and downs of the startup journey. So a quick look at the topics that we're going to cover today. As Anita mentioned, this session is focused on the benefits that automated real-time reporting can have in helping companies to gain better financial visibility, make better strategic decisions, and therefore increase their chances of startup success. So we're going to first take a look at some of the trade-offs between a spreadsheet-based approach to running a finance function and an app-based approach. Then we're going to take a look at a couple of scenarios. One scenario where a company is using automated real-time reporting, one where the company is not using automated real-time reporting, and then one where they are. After that, I have a couple of quick demos that I'd like to run through to show you all what a reporting suite that's powered by this automated real-time reporting could look like. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the impact that this approach can have across the various stages of the startup lifecycle. The last section will be Q&A, and if you have any questions that come to you as we're running through any of these other materials, feel free to drop those into the Q&A chat, and we will address them all at the end of the session. So with that, we'll go ahead and kick things off. So the topic of which approach is best from a financial reporting standpoint, spreadsheets versus apps, it has become a fairly contentious topic in the world of startup finance. Obviously, Excel and Google Sheets, this spreadsheet-based approach, has been the standard for as long as those tools have existed. But we now have a scenario where there is sort of a new crop of FP&A tools, such as some of the ones that you see on this screen here, that are trying to unseat spreadsheets as the core tool that startup finance and enterprise finance teams use to manage their FP&A and other components of their finance function. I laid out the pros and cons of the two approaches here, just kind of to be clear up front. So this session is very much oriented towards a company that wants to take the spreadsheet-based approach to running their finance function. There are trade-offs associated with each of these two. So the spreadsheet-based approach, I would say some of their main strengths are the fact that spreadsheets are ubiquitous, that everyone knows how to operate a spreadsheet. A lot of times investors will require that you send over your financials in the form of a spreadsheet, as opposed to sending over a link to a financial reporting platform. And also, spreadsheets are the most cost-effective way of running your finance and accounting reporting. However, there are some real drawbacks to running your entire finance function out of spreadsheets, and we would not recommend that you run your entire back office out of spreadsheets by any stretch of the imagination. But some of the drawbacks of spreadsheets include scalability, dependability, automation, especially scalability, I would say. And we'll talk a little bit about how creating automated real-time reporting workflows can help to offset some of the cons of the spreadsheet-based model on a future slide. But I do want to recognize that there are, there's no one-size-fits-all approach that says that for a startup, they definitely need to go with spreadsheets, or they definitely need to go with the app-based approach. So looking at the other side of the slide here, and some of the pros of the app-based approach, as you can kind of tell, the pros of the apps correspond with the cons of the spreadsheet-based tools. So the apps were sort of built as a reaction to some of the drawbacks of spreadsheet-based tools. At least in my mind, I think that's kind of how people took an approach to building those products. So scalability and automation are a couple of things that these tools do really well. Some of the drawbacks of them, though, are the flexibility. And honestly, I think this is probably the biggest one that we see as a reason to stick more with the spreadsheet-based model. So with these app-based tools, they can be very great in specific situations, but they're not going to be infinitely flexible like a spreadsheet-based approach to financial reporting and modeling would be. There's inevitably going to be corner cases that you run into. I can't tell you how many times I've had founders come to me who are operating on these platforms, and they run into a unique corner case with their business and the way that they want to show their financial reporting, and the app just doesn't support that way of viewing their business, and they're kind of stuck at that point. So that's a really big drawback to putting your financial data into one of these self-enclosed platforms. A couple of other cons, obviously, learning curve. Not everyone knows how to use these platforms right off the bat like they do with Excel. You could create lock-in for yourself in some cases, and a lot of these tools can be quite expensive as well, at least compared to spreadsheets. So, kind of summing up this slide, at airCFO, we lean towards taking a spreadsheet-based approach to our financial reporting. And a big part of the reason why this approach is the better one in our mind is because of our ability to run these real-time automated reports using LiveFlow. So this is a quick, I guess, data flow diagram of how a finance function's financial data would move around the organization in a scenario where there is no automated financial data reporting in place. In this case, spreadsheets are a very clunky solution to giving founders and executives the data that they need to make smarter decisions. You can see that the information flows up from the accounting schedules into QuickBooks Online to create the accrual-based books that are going to give the most visibility into a company's financial performance. And then it requires manual updates or manual exports from QuickBooks into an accounting month-end package or a monthly financial model. And this manual update process is error-prone. It sucks time from our team members that could be doing more value-added activities. And overall, it's just not a scalable solution to running a finance function once you get to any kind of, once you start to hit that inflection point with your startup's growth trajectory. However, after enabling financial data automation, as you can see with this new diagram, and this is a simplified version of the data flow diagram that we have at airCFO, you are able to bring increased scalability and automation into this spreadsheet-based reporting structure to give you a lot of the benefits that you would have with an app-based platform, while also retaining the infinite flexibility and ubiquity that are some of the big benefits of the spreadsheet-based approach. So within this model, we have LiveFlow sitting as kind of our intermediary between our QuickBooks Online instance and what we call our data HQ. I'll pull up an example of a data HQ in just a minute here, but essentially our data HQ acts as a central repository for all things financial data within one of our client companies. So we link up all of our LiveFlow reports inside of the data HQ and create that live connection between that spreadsheet and QuickBooks Online. And then we are able to use import ranges and some other techniques to push the data automatically from our data HQ into the various end state deliverables that we operate on to help our clients get better financial visibility, make better strategic decisions, and increase their startup chances of financial success. So at this point, I'm gonna stop sharing the slide deck and I'm going to run through just a couple of the reporting packages that we have created using this new data infrastructure that leverages LiveFlow. And I'll say, when we were pitching this webinar, we talked about some free tools. And so I'll call out specifically the tools that will be available for anyone who joined this webinar to get access to. And actually, airCFO will implement those tools for you if you fill out a form for us after this and connect to LiveFlow with a free trial membership that they are offering up to attendees as well. So we'll start here, which is on the Data HQ workbook. And I mentioned this is kind of our central repository for all things financial data at each of our clients. You can see here that we have our profit and loss and balance sheet reports, which are connected live to QuickBooks. You can see the last update was earlier today. And then we also have various reports for AR, for AP, and at the transaction level as well to give us a much more granular view of our financial data. So all of these spreadsheets are being pushed in various forms to the other more value additive kind of deliverables that we share with our clients and operate on in order to help our clients to succeed. The first example here, this is another package that will be available to attendees coming out of this webinar. This is our standard month-end reporting package that our accounting team prepares and analyzes and reviews with clients on a monthly basis. And so you can see the various dimensions that we're kind of various lenses that we're using to evaluate our clients' financial outlook by. We have our summary P&L view here. We have a view of our cash flow, as well as sort of an extrapolation of our average cash burn to give us a projected runway. We have a variance analysis right here, so you can see which expenses are moving in either increasing at a higher rate or decreasing at a higher rate than we might expect in a steady state. So this is kind of our summary level view. And then we can go even deeper by looking at, for example, our variance analysis here, complete with deep links into our QuickBooks instance based on the LiveFlow functionality. And you can see the same thing within our profit and loss and our our balance sheet. We also have a couple of different views of our cash flow. So we can double click in to understand if we burn more cash in the last month than we were expecting to, what are the drivers of that cash burn? Are those variances the result of a one-off that is going to kind of revert back to the mean in the next month, or is there actually a course correction that needs to be made in order to get ourselves back on plan in terms of the amount of cash that we're burning on a monthly basis? You can see here, this is just another view of our cash projections. Indirect versus direct cash flow may be a conversation for another presentation, but they both give their own useful views of cash in, cash out. We also have P&L detail here, so you can actually drill down into individual accounts. For example, software engineering, this is obviously a big bucket for this sample data here. And so you can see the transactions that made up the total spend in software engineering over the course of the month, and a summary of how that spend has shifted over the last 6 months. Keep in mind, all of this reporting is being automatically populated. So in a normal, a pre-finance data automation world, there would be a lot of data manipulation that needs to happen, and it would be pretty error prone to be able to create something like this. But because of the infrastructure that we have in place with LiveFlow, all of this is updated in this workbook as soon as it is updated inside of QuickBooks Online.
Alex, if you don't mind me asking, since it's a very popular demand, I think, how do you communicate with startups once you introduce this package? Because as we know, the traditional way to go through the email threads with your accountant or CFO and just continuously attach files and update the status or ask for updates as a startup. How did your communication change, and what is the cadence that you have now once you introduce live reports?
Good question. So a lot of our communication does still happen via email and shared Slack channels, but I think one of the big benefits of implementing this data automation is that our team spends far less time on the back end actually doing that data entry, data wrangling, and can focus much more of their time on actually looking at the numbers and understanding the why behind them, so that they can provide the client with not just an email that says, hey, your month-end package is ready, but they can say, hey, your month-end package is ready. I got to take a deep dive look into it, and here are some of the key considerations that you should be aware of as you are thinking about your company's financial performance from the previous month. So within airCFO, our team members, as much time as we can remove in terms of the manual sort of in the weeds data wrangling is the better, because that allows us to be able to actually provide intelligence to our clients. And I think the same thing is super applicable within any finance function. A CFO or a CEO, they don't want to spend time just updating and error checking and doing all of those things. And if they can have this data on hand whenever they need it and they know that it's correct, then they can just skip the non-value additive part and focus on using the data the way that it should be used to make better financial decisions.
Yeah, makes total sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm gonna just hop around a little bit here, make sure that we're doing all right on time. We have a bunch of advanced reporting that we've put in place at airCFO, just building off of the infrastructure that we have with LiveFlow and our automated reporting. So a great thing about airCFO, for example, is we build this type of thing once and then we can roll it out across our client base. And so you can see here, this is another sort of vendor drill down tab where we can look at our vendor concentration within individual accounts and view transactions for individual accounts by month. We can also do a vendor level variance analysis so we can see how spend at the vendor level is shifting. This is a really important one, especially in today's environment when it's much more top of mind for startups to keep spend in check. So, in an ideal world, we're looking at this on a monthly basis with our client, and we're looking for spikes in spend within various vendors, and we can actually go to those vendors and understand what we can do to contain costs, or we could rationalize spend at the vendor level and potentially cut out any costs that are the result of, overspend. We had a company called Vendor that joined an airCFO call recently that said that about 30% of spend on software is actually wasted spend. And that, I think, means that there's a huge opportunity from looking at something from this view to actually shave costs and extend your runway if you have the visibility into it. So that's our vendor variances, and then you can see our weekly cash flows as well. So you can have more of a granular view of how your cash balance is shifting week over week. Finally, we have cash flow details, which is just another view. So all of this is populated as soon as our accounting team closes the books for the month. And then we have all of this intelligence at our fingertips in order to help our clients manage their financial picture and navigate their way through the startup journey. So that was our month-end package. Again, that one could be, we could load your data into that if you want to fill out a quick form after this webinar. So I hope that a couple of y'all take advantage of that. The last one that we have, or I'm sorry, we have two more. The next one that we have here is a weekly cash flow projection. This one is really cool because this actually helps us get a fully automated, forward-looking view of our company's financial outlook. You can see that it takes in things like our incoming cash inflows from our outstanding AR, our expected cash outflows from our outstanding AP, and then it projects out our future expenses based on those expenses that recur on a monthly basis as well. So this is basically our vendor variance analysis from that other workbook that you just saw, but it carries forward these expenses that we see recurring on a monthly basis and gives us this view right here. So this shows our cash inflows, making the assumption that only what's outstanding on the AR front is going to be collected, and a conservative assumption for sure, but potentially, the right level of conservatism if you're doing this sort of a granular cash flow planning exercise. And then we have here our cash outflows, which are populated automatically based on the historical data that we have in QuickBooks. And so we can have this updated on a weekly basis for a client who wants to get that more granular view of when am I going to run out of money? And when you get to the point where you are with just a couple of months of runway, having this kind of a view becomes extremely critical because it helps you see some of the levers that you can pull in order to extend your runway, even if it's by just a couple of weeks. That couple of weeks can make a big difference between sort of success and running out of cash. So this is the weekly cash flows. And then the last one that I wanted to share with everyone was our department level reporting. So this is a tool that we built specifically for later stage companies. And I think that this is one of the more useful applications of an automated real-time reporting infrastructure, because department level reporting is a very useful exercise for a Series B stage startup, say, but it is a very labor-intensive exercise to carry forward if you don't have some sort of an infrastructure in place to automatically pipe the data to where it needs to be. So, but you can see what we've built here is kind of like a department-specific version of our month-end package that is automatically updated based on the departments that we select here in these cells. So I created this one just for, say, a growth lead, someone who oversees the sales and marketing departments. And this view filters the data out of the data HQ for the departments that we have selected here. So you can see these are just the departments that are bucketed under sales and marketing in our P&L. And so this view can be taken to the sales lead, and they can have that understanding of how their department is performing against their budget as well. We've loaded in our filtered budget versus actuals so that we can see the department level budget versus actuals, and we can give the department lead ownership over their portion of the P&L and the autonomy to make sure that they are keeping their department's spend in line with the plan that has been laid out. And we can also help them see at a very granular level how is our spend trending across various accounts and with various vendors, and give them the ability to poke around inside of the spend within their department so that they can start thinking a little bit more like a financial steward of the company's capital. So how this implementation works in practice is we will just make copies of this reporting tool, change the cells here, and within a handful of minutes, we have 5 department level reporting tools that we can lay out for a single company. And then those tools get automatically updated month over month so that we can have those conversations with the department heads. For a CFO or a COO who's looking to give this sort of data to the next level down within the organization, those department heads, I would almost say that like setting something up like this is almost infeasible if you don't have that automated reporting in place. So this has been a really key deliverable that we've been able to produce using the new automated functionality that we have within our reporting infrastructure. Okay, so that was a quick spin through of some of our tools. And then this is kind of the end goal for, I think, a finance department. I showed just a handful of some of the tools that we have at airCFO, but there are a bunch of other ones as well. Our financial model is our main finance deliverable. We have our we have a budget versus actuals module as well, metric scorecard. And when we have this automated infrastructure in place, all of these things become available to a client as soon as we connect our data to the data HQ using LiveFlow. And a similar dynamic is possible within a finance department at a single startup as well. You know, once you build all of these tools, or you leverage a fractional CFO firm to sort of link up these tools, you have them, they're automatically maintained, and they become weapons that you can use in order to better manage your company's financial outlook. And this automated reporting has benefits across the startup lifecycle. So these are the 4 buckets that we sort of think about our startups as going through within the startup journey. And at the earliest stages, I think that automated reporting is really helpful in creating a dependable reporting flow, because a lot of the earliest stage startups really don't have anything from a reporting standpoint, and implementing an automated system like LiveFlow makes it super easy to be able to provide that kind of data and start building that solid foundation on the reporting front. As you start to move through your startup life cycle, I would say the types of benefits that you receive from automated reporting shift slightly. I think scalability becomes much more important, obviously, once you get to that scale stage, for example. But across the startup lifecycle, there are major benefits to putting this type of a tool in place. And so we see these benefits across all of the, we work with clients all across this spectrum here. And we find that while the benefits might be slightly different depending on where the company sits, they are very real in every case. And so I guess that I would just say, as a takeaway from this slide, regardless of where you are in the startup journey, I think that you should really think about how you can leverage financial data automation in order to make your job easier and give yourself a better picture of your financial situation so that you can make those better financial decisions. All right, that was everything that I had to cover today. And so at this point, would love to see if anyone has any questions that were not covered in this conversation or would like to double click into anything that I covered. I see that Anita dropped a link to our landing page for claiming the free financial tools that we discussed today. So that would be the Data HQ and the month-end package. If you would like to load your company's data into those tools and have us ship those over to you so you can get that visibility into your financial picture, just go ahead and fill out the form and we will turn that around for you.
Alex, I have a question again. That's a fantastic deck, and the more dashboards I see that you guys built, the more surprised I am how advanced you guys are. And it looks like standalone dashboards and tools that you fully built from scratch. It's really, really impressive. What I've seen at LiveFlow, some companies migrate from one fractional CFO firm to airCFO. And we've seen it several times, and they moved their LiveFlow subscription with them. So I'm curious, what do you offer when someone transitions? Because I can imagine some of the companies here at this webinar already have an accountant, and it might be a little bit difficult to, completely switch to a new firm. So how do you help with migration, and why are you better than other fractional CFO and accounting firms?
Yeah, I mean, we are very well versed in handling the transition from an alternative third-party accounting firm over to airCFO. So I'd say we've worked really hard to get our onboarding and implementation cycle to the place where it is today, where it is fairly seamless. I think we average about a 30 to 60 day onboarding implementation time. And we are, there's probably nothing that a client could come to us with that we haven't seen before and been able to navigate. In terms of how we differentiate from other fractional accounting and finance firms, I would say that the main points of differentiation are, it's really the combination of the people that we have with the tools that we've built. The tools enable our startup experts to, like I said, spend less time doing the manual maneuvering of data and more time actually applying their expertise to add value for the startups that we support. In comparison with other companies, I think we're probably more competitively priced and provide more value for the services that we, or for the packages that we offer, based on all of the work that we've put into automating to the extent possible and standardizing our various services and processes.
Right. And how does the process look like? So someone comes to you and says, I'm interested in your packages. What would be the next steps?
Yeah, so we would love to start off with a discovery call to better understand the client's pain points and start to formulate a potential scope of work. I mean, we have 4 services that we offer to provide kind of an all-in-one back office solution for clients who want that. We do everything from accounting to finance, fractional CFO work, to taxes, to HR, people ops. And so there's a lot of different things that we can offer to early stage startups. And we would like to, we'll have a conversation. We ask some questions to understand exactly what the company is looking for. And from there, we have built out a scope of work, agree on kind of the proposal, and kick off the onboarding process.
Right. And you also mentioned that you start working with early stage startups. So how do you define early stage startups, i.e. Who would be a great fit for you and who actually needs to have their reports in place once they're, like, I don't know, just graduated from YC or any other accelerator? Like, how do your customers understand that this is the time to work with airCFO?
Yeah, good question. Historically, we had worked with startups around the time that they raised their first round of institutional funding. So that's anywhere from a couple $100,000 from angels to maybe a $1 to $2 million pre-seed round. We actually recently launched a new lower tier service package that we call Launchpad. If you saw on the little stair step slide that I created, Launchpad is targeted towards those very, very early stage companies, maybe someone that's just graduated from YC. It's still a couple of people, and they may be pre-revenue, still working on R&D or building their product. Our Launchpad service is for those types of clients. So we can really support any company as long as they are a tech business that is on the path to raising venture funding. That's kind of where we draw the line with the Launchpad. We don't necessarily want to support just normal SMBs who might be like bootstrapped or like, building a services business or whatever it is. That's great, but we really want to stay focused on the area or the target market that we support the best, which is those venture-backed tech startups or those who aim to be that.
Yeah, totally get it. All right. I think I'm out of my questions. Guys, do you have any questions? Please feel free to drop them in the Q&A section.
All right. If not, I guess we could give everybody the last 20 minutes or so of this webinar back. Again, yeah, Anita, thank you for organizing this and giving me a chance to talk about spreadsheets and how airCFO is changing the game with spreadsheets with the help of you all over at LiveFlow.
Thank you so much. Been a pleasure. Thank you. See you soon.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.